Not hearing you. We're not hearing you.
Oh, so all of what I was saying, nothing was okay. So let me reintroduce. Welcome to another episode of Mindset Monday. I guess everyone was seeing my mouth moving and nothing happening. Today is another wonderful day that we are here to share all of what happens when you live abundantly. And we have with us on stage Dr. Victor Elliott, who is who is an interventional cardiologist, and he's also the managing director of Partners Interventional Center of Jamaica, PICJ. I was sharing how the Woolmerian, he is a Woolmerian, and I know in Jamaica, the Woolmerians, they rival the Calabarians and the KCs. So whichever spectrum you are, you can give a shout out to your fellow rival. Dr. Victor Elliott, he's here to share with us his authenticity and a lot more of his accomplishment as he lives and serves abundantly. Welcome, Doc. It's great to have you, and I'm so honored to share this forum with you this evening. Now, let me allow you to respond.
Good evening, Miriam, and good evening to your audience. It's my pleasure to be here.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And guests, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much. We have been growing together. You have been learning from us. You have been reminded of healthy living and also sharing your truth with us as our awesome viewers. Now, my first question to you, Dr. Elliott, what
Mhm.
in your perspective is abundance in service?
That's an interesting question to ask a medical doctor because abundance gives the impression there's a lot. And when it comes to the medical practice in a country like Jamaica, where we are challenged in terms of, say, equipment and the equipment that we use, one cannot say there's definitely an abundance there. What I think we have in Jamaica among myself is an abundance of willingness to serve and a willingness
Mm,
to make use of whatever scarcity we have to get the best results. And I think in many respects we do achieve that because we have had physicians from countries where they have more an abundance of equipment and um, that which is required. They come and they see and say, oh, you guys achieve a lot with the little that you have. And makes them even question, do we have too much in terms of
wow.
what they have? So for me, abundance in service comes down to the willingness to serve, the willingness,
The willingness to serve.
right, the willingness to give, the willingness to serve, the willingness to be there for your patients, and the willingness to try and achieve that abundance in equipment for the sake of our patients. So for me, that is where the definition starts. The willingness to serve, the willingness to strive, and the willingness to try and achieve better.
The willingness to serve, the willingness to strive, and the willingness to
Strive.
achieve better. Those are some powerful points, powerful attributes. Now, where you're standing now, that's in your career goal. I want to just take you back to your youthful years in
Okay.
terms of how did you, in terms of service, was service a lifestyle, or was it basically something you you were directed to because of? What actually drove you to service and bring
Um,
you to where you are now? So take me down memory lane.
okay, so let's say I do recall at the age of 5. My father is a medical technologist. He was Jamaica's first locally trained medical technologist. So he worked at the university hospital, and because of some exposure with him, even from an early age, I had that was when I first decided, I want to become a doctor. And as time went on throughout my years, I kind of still kept that goal, and I went through different switches, though, to become this, become that. But what I found was that I liked to work with people. And so it was really to be in an occupation which was people centric. Um,
Hmm.
whether it was something like, say, teaching, or it was serving in terms of as a doctor. I do recall coming to the realization that I wasn't the kind of person who would want to sit down in a lab or sit down behind a desk and not having interaction with people. So as I got older, I realized I liked working with people. I like being in um, arenas where I had no problem being on stage. I had no problem being up front. I used to do drama. I used to be involved with the Interschool Christian Fellowship. We went on outings. I've been on stage talking, preaching, teaching. I was a camp counselor. But once it had to do with people, that is when I was energized. And so I just realized that that's what I want. So I will tell you the stories that I went to university after high school and
Mm-hmm.
trying to make the grades initially to become a doctor. And I would admit my A level grades were not so great. And so I ended up studying chemistry and applied chemistry. But I wasn't that's industry. That's like sugar,
Mm-hmm.
bauxite, the industry. And as exciting as I found part of it, it wasn't quite what I wanted to do. And my father used to keep asking me, what is it you plan to do? What is it you want to do? And the logical answer was, well, I'm in this line of study which is going to have me work in the sugar industry or the bauxite industry, which were the two biggest industries in Jamaica next to tourism. But
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't the comfort that I wasn't comfortable. And I actually recall one Saturday morning as I was lying in bed, he came into the room and he asked me, what is it you plan to do? And I said, I'm going to teach for 2 years. Suddenly, I
Mm-hmm.
just had an answer. I had an absolute answer. I just knew it. I don't know how, but that's where it was. So I actually, at the end of my degree, I was interviewed by my alma mater, Wolmer's, and I went to teach.
All
And I
right.
taught there for 2 years. And see, again, it had to be around people. And I must admit, those 2 years were among they taught me a lot about boys, about parenting, and about myself. And of course, what was I going to do after the next 2 years? Now, here's where things got interesting.
Let's
Now,
pause right there. Let's pause right there. You said those first 2 years, you were taught a lot about boys, about parenting,
parenting
okay,
and about myself.
and about yourself. So actually, could it be that's where you actually found yourself?
Um, it's not a matter of finding myself, it's just the lessons that I learned. As a young man growing up, I don't think I was lost, as a lot
Oh,
of I hear some adults go through. I kind
oh.
of knew who I was. I was
Mm-hmm.
still discovering parts of myself, and I was aware that as a young adult, I still had a lot to learn and even to discover about myself. That is one of the things which going to ISF camp, they had some these sessions which were very good at teaching you about yourself, what to expect, and about growth. So I was very much aware that as a young man, I was still growing into myself. And I guess I was kind of excited to see where I would reach in terms of that growth. So
Got it.
it was just more learning, not
Learning.
finding myself, was more learning more about myself.
Awesome. You mentioned ISCF camp. Uh, I know young persons or even parents are watching now. Could you say what the acronym signifies? So other parents,
All right.
because if it's a camp and you were able to, learn more about yourself, then I know parents maybe would want to involve their children in that same, you know, area.
It's in it's Interschool Christian Fellowship. It's an organization that exists in the high schools. Was very active then. I know it still exists now, maybe not as active as it was then, but it's where Christians, didn't matter the denomination really, where we got together and we interacted, we shared, did Bible studies, we learned it with, and of course, I being the people person I was, I would tell you, I probably have visited a lot of the groups in not just the Kingston and St. Andrew area, even throughout the island. And of course, they had these camps every year in which I
Mhm.
attended as a camper, and eventually over time I attended as a counselor at a week-long camp at Moorlands. And those were some very interesting days. Again, I learned a lot about myself.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yes. So though that was the 2 years. Now, from then on, share with me a little bit more about, because it's very interesting moving forward to where you are now.
Right. So here I was in one of the people oriented type occupations, because interacting with the boys, I mean, classroom setting, it's very good. And as I said, very thankful for it because it has helped me to become the father that I am today. And one of the teachers, I used to meet with one of the teachers and the tennis coach. Now, this particular teacher was there from I was a student.
Hmm.
God bless her. Her name is Mrs. Robb. She is perhaps one of the most beloved teachers from Woodbus. All the boys who have had interaction with her really loved her. And I would meet with them maybe about once a week for a little time of prayer. And one day she looked at me and said, "But didn't you once want to become a doctor?" And I said to her, "Yes, but I did apply a few times and I wasn't accepted. So I guess it's not going to happen." And they challenged me and said, "Apply one more time." Though this is coming to the end of the 2 years. Remember, I told my father I'm teaching
Hmm.
for 2 years. They didn't know what I
Right.
was going to do after the 2 years. And I had my doubts, but I did apply and I got through to medical school. So here again, the next step just unfolded in front of me without any planning per se. And that's essentially how I got into medical school. After I had applied two times before, while going through university, I wasn't accepted. But here now, after teaching for 2 years, I got in, and I was like, "Wow, this is interesting."
Awesome.
And it really was, because I can tell you from day one, when I started medical school, that first day, I still remember it. It was an exhausting day, but I kind of knew this is where I was to be.
That was your passion. And just going back to the closing the end of the 2 years, and your teacher who taught at the school remembered. So it is so important to stay focused and stay in line with your calling, because you will have people along the way to either redirect you or remind you of your purpose. That is so profound.
It is, and I can tell you, even today, there are links from that time at Woolmer's to what is happening with me, my medical career. Like, for example, that one of the chemistry classes that I taught, every boy in that class ended up becoming a doctor, except for one who became a veterinarian.
Hmm.
No, a dentist. Sorry, he became a dentist. So it, and so today I work with quite a number of them as physician to physician interaction, and they I've had these students who spoke about how I inspired them when I wasn't trying to inspire. I was there trying to learn how to be a teacher, you know. So I guess I just said that abundance in service. It's that willingness, because I was
Mm-hmm.
willing to give time to these boys. And as I was learning about it, and then coming into medical school and later graduating, and then they entering medical school after, and I ended up teaching some of them again as a consultant to them as students. And that also, it just came back right around, because, and I still teach in the medical school, and I love teaching. I really love teaching.
Wow. I see you light up when you talk about, I really love teaching. It's like blinkers just come on. So,
No, it's a passion. I like learning, and I like spreading knowledge. And I also like to try and break down the information so that people can understand. And it's again that personality of mine, as I said, that likes to be on the stage. So to be in front, to teach, and to just see how, what the excitement when people are learning, when they start to get the concept, when things start to click, it really is an exciting time.
stay right there on that teaching. What is one of the greatest moments you have during your teaching career? One of the greatest moments.
Okay, this may seem like a strange moment, but it is really one of my most memorable moments teaching at Wilmer's, because it was an eye opener for me. I had a particular boy who, what I call a troublemaker, not a troublemaker in terms of causing fights and that kind of thing, but he seemed to be lazy, not doing the work. You'd give a test and he would be getting poor grades, things like that. I remember one time I had set up some, and this was a maths
Mhm.
class because I taught chemistry and maths. I had set up some work on the board, and I'm sitting at the back of the class, and he's walking up and down the back. And let's say his name was Mark. And I
Mhm.
said, Mark, why aren't you doing the work? And he stood up there, looked on the board, and he just, sir, the answer is so and so, and walked away.
Mhm.
And I was astonished. While everybody else is sitting down using paper, using calculator, this boy who is hardly passing anything just stood there, calculated in his head. And that is when, as a teacher, I learned how to identify the brilliant students. Because his
Wow.
problem is that he was bored. So while he got concepts very easily, the work was
Mhm.
easy to him. So he's walking up and down because he's bored. Other people would, and initially you're there thinking he's lazy or he cannot
Mhm.
understand the work, he's behind, he may need help. No, he needs somebody to stimulate him. And as a teacher, that was a big learning experience. That is something I've never forgotten. I've actually shared this story many times before. It's just how brilliance can almost resemble somebody who is quote unquote dunce, without understanding that you have children, especially
Right.
boys. Let me tell you, boys are a special set. You have to identify the boys who are like this, because they will give trouble because they are bored. instead of learning how to groom them into the excellent men that they can become.
Wow. This is a profound point. And I hope teachers are hearing that. And if they're not doing it, it is so important to be aware so you can discern. And as you're saying, you're telling me something that not everyone learn at the same pace or learn with the same style.
And that is true. I tell you, these days, a lot of teachers are taught to identify these boys. The problems I've found and are the parents. So I was once the PTA president of my son's prep school at the time, Kingsgate Prep. So that brought me into a lot of interaction with parents. And the challenge was to let the parents see their children differently when it
Mm,
comes to teaching and for them to learn, especially boys. Boys learn differently. They have to be challenged differently. And so they would think that their son is a troublemaker and can't settle down. What's wrong with this boy? The problem is you have to change your approach. And once you
mm,
get the right approach with these so-called lazy or distracted boys, you suddenly find that your son has a brain and a very good brain too, and that he can achieve so much with the right guidance. And some parents listen and some parents ignored and ignored to the detriment of their children.
that's sad. So there it is, abundance you're serving, and you are picking up things that has helped generations, that has helped you to help others and also help your own children. Viewers, you see how powerful it is, not hiding your gifts and talents that God has so invested in you. You were born with them, but having the channel, having the opportunity as Dr. Elliott and sharing his brilliance, I'm sure a lot of persons are benefited from his guidance and seeing how he has helped. Doctor, it's it's so powerful. I must say, thank you for helping our young men and all the others you have interacted with so far. Thank you for your service. Now, as you take us on your journey, keep going, because I know I want to get to that heart part, because as a cardiologist, you are, you take that heart, of course, the entire body, but you look at that heart with such.
All right, so let's be kind of jump a bit and get
Yes,
to something which you'll find quite interesting. So yes, I went through medical school and I really loved medical school. It's a lot of work, but I felt at home. I enjoyed what I was learning. I enjoyed interaction with patients. I enjoyed my class. I mean, nothing was smooth. Everything wasn't smooth. There were a lot of ups and downs and so on. But at the end of it all, just I realized I was excited. I have always been excited about medicine from that first day. Did my internship, and the question then came up in terms of what specialty do I want to go into, or do I want to remain as a general practitioner? And I didn't want to be a general practitioner. I can tell you, when I started medical school, I wanted to be a neurosurgeon. But when I heard of the long hours they can have, like 12-hour
Mhm.
surgeries or longer than that, I was like, maybe that's not the thing for me. But as I went through medical school, I actually enjoyed what we call medicine, internal medicine. And the best way I can break it down,
Mhm.
internal medicine is not the surgeon, it's not the gynecologist. Think of what a pediatrician is to a child, an internist is to an adult. We deal with non-surgical adult problem, the diabetic, the hypertensive,
Oh,
the person with the asthma, the person with the heart problem, the person with the diabetes. We specialize in that, but we don't, as we like to say, slice and dice. So we are not the surgeons. We
okay.
are the investigators. You come with these symptoms, and we are the
Mhm.
ones who sit down and investigate. It's kind of like I call them the CSI of medicine. And I
So,
enjoy that. I enjoy the brain work.
so it's
But
like
I
you peel,
also,
I'm sorry, like you
mhm,
peel the onion to find out exactly what is the underlying.
yes. And
Okay.
so I enjoyed that, but I also found that I needed some kind of that adrenaline rush, as they call it,
Mm,
which surgery provides. The surgeons, especially if you're like in emergency medicine, that is dread when so, and you watch it in the medical shows,
hmm.
when they come into the ER and that activity. But that wasn't fully for me. And so I decided, yes, I want to study internal medicine and maybe become a gastroenterologist. And I had that in mind. But here's
Hmm.
where the story comes in. There's a
Interesting.
group of persons who I studied with, four girls who I studied with, and two of them went to a conference. And they came back and they're talking about this medical conference, how they love this medical conference they went to in Mexico and so on. And I must admit, I got a little bit of red eye. I got a
Gotcha.
little envious. And so I went to the head of my department and said, look, I want to go to a conference also. Now remember, I was planning to be a gastroenterologist at this stage.
Hmm.
So interestingly, the head of department was a cardiologist. And he arranged and helped me to arrange to attend a conference in California, the American College of Cardiology conference.
Hmm.
Miriam, from the first day I stepped into that conference, I was so struck by what was happening. I said, there is nothing else to do but cardiology.
Wow. It's like
And
you
that
say,
is where
bingo.
everything changed. Yes, it like something clicked. It like the bells went off. And I never looked back from that day. I wanted to do cardiology. I was excited by cardiology, what I heard, what I learned, what was happening with the heart. And it just all clicked. I didn't know how I was going to get to do cardiology. But again, I think this is God just setting the pathway here that, as you
Definitely.
notice, each thing, when the time
Yes.
came, when the time came, just clicked. I just kind of knew what was happening and what I was
Hmm.
supposed to do. And that's where cardiology just clicked in. Um, and then the interesting part is, again, provision occurred in which at the end of my course of studying internal medicine, you now have to go and study to be a cardiologist. And again, I wasn't sure how that was going to happen. But the same head of department came and said that a new program was developing between us and the University of Toronto, which was again provided because of some Jamaicans who were providing the financing to help us to come up to study the cardiology, providing that we are come back home. So it wasn't a situation of to go and study and then to stay in the first world country, so to speak. I hate that term, in the developed country, which a lot of people do. They get a gateway to go to the US or Canada and they stay. A provision of this was that you're to come back home. And that was fine for me. I always believed in serving my people. I always believed I was never quite a foreign mindset, and so for to hear that, to go to study, to come back home, that just sat well with me. That said, this is exactly what I would want. And
Let's
so
pause
that
right there.
opportunity.
I don't want you to run away from that excitement. I just wanted, someone was asking a question in the chat. Let me just jump at that before you go to the it's Anne Marie Wallace. She said, everything, everything teachers talk about, or every teacher talk about dance. No one is done. They just learn at different levels. I think there was a question. Dr. Derek, he said, based on the example you gave of the boy, would the diagnosis of some children with learning disability be a cause for questioning? And how can they be rectified?
Okay, so you're really talking now about assessing a child as
Yeah.
to whether they have a learning disability or not. And let's look on it in terms of disability. There are two spectrums. You do have some who are quote unquote slow learners. They take a longer time to learn, they take a lot more effort. And you have those who actually learn very fast, like this boy, to the point of boredom. Now, the key thing is if you see your child seeming to have an issue with learning, get them assessed. You have special people who do what we call special education and are able to assess your child to see exactly where they are. Now, we do hear two terms which we hear a lot these days. We hear about the autistic child who seem to have a learning disability or a social disability, but a lot of autistic child or children are really brilliant. And we
Mm-hmm.
also hear about attention deficit disorder, ADHD, attention
Mm-hmm.
deficit hyperactive disorder. Now, those children also can be quite brilliant, but they need a different kind of setting in terms of how to learn. So while some of us could sit down, like I did at Woolmont in a class of 32 boys and learn, neither the autistic or the child with ADHD can learn in such a setting.
Mm.
Or and you have the other set who I say are slow learners. These groups of children need smaller setting and more individual attention. It's a bit more effort, but I
Mm-hmm.
know children or I know people who are adults today in each of those categories who are doing quite well because their parents recognize that they had to be in a different kind of setting. So yes, it can be remedied, but you're going to have to get that child assessed. And the key thing that I had being the PTA president of my son's prep school, it was to challenge parents, do not be ashamed to have your child see someone, a child psychologist or someone to assess them. Do not feel it's a weakness on your part. Do not feel that, and do not hide the fact that your child has a learning problem. Your child could be a brilliant person, but he just needs the right environment. He just
Mm.
needs the right attention. He may need more stimulation than the average child, or the average stimulation may be too much for him. He needs to slow down, and in given time, he will catch up with everybody else and hence succeed. But what I found was that a lot of parents were afraid because they're afraid of the stigma. They did not
Yeah.
want anybody labeling their children. And so they close their eyes and they say, nothing's wrong with my child. My child is a bright child. My child is a great child, without seeking the help. Those who sought help, because I saw it as a PTA, as a parent at that school. There's one particular family, I could see their son needed help so much. He wasn't a dunce child
Mm.
at all, but he needed some guidance. And they refused to even acknowledge that their son needed help. So at the end of prep school, he was behind everybody else. But if he had gotten the help early, he would have been on top with
You would
everybody
have
else.
actually.
And you have to do this for your children. You do have to seek the help you do. And even if you think they're fine, nothing is wrong with just maybe having them at some stage, have somebody in education look, assess, and to say, okay, your child is good, he's normal, but here are some tools that can even help to make him better. In this country, we have this competition at the prep school and primary school level, even
Mhm.
preschool. Who can talk first? Who can
Yes.
walk first? Look, my child can count to 10 first. My child knows the ABC first. And so we're in that competition. We're pushing our children instead of helping them.
That's so profound. And what I'm hearing from you is sharing with our parents that all of our children, even us as adults, we are unique. And so one person will get a subject easy, one person will go into another area and they're good, but we all are unique and our learning is just the same unique. So you are serving in your area, in your sphere. And I really hope that parents who are here who are listening can share with others who see and know that other children or other parents or others of their friends have a need and share with them. I thank you so much for sharing that with us and just expounding on the question that was asked. Now, going back now to that excitement of the learning your passion as you step. Let me just do like a step is you went to your alma mater for 2 years, and the closing of that second year your teacher reminded you of your purpose. You want to go medical school, and there you applied and you were accepted. And now it's
Right.
another aspect where where you were, it's not really where you wanted to be. Now you were propelled by God's divine hand with the where you were working. So we're at that junction now, so share with me that excitement that just
Well, as I said, it's quite again good timing how I got into this program to do cardiology in Canada, University of Toronto. It was really the perfect storm. There were changes happening at the University of Toronto, which facilitated it. There were Jamaican entrepreneurs who were willing to put money into a scholarship program that never existed before. And here was I at the right time for all of that.
right timing.
So myself and one of the girls who I studied with, we were the first two to go to Toronto to in this program, and that was all exciting. I I will be honest, I'm glad I did not go to a university in the US, mainly because of how they teach in Canada. And I think that the style was more suited for me. And again, being a lover of persons, it's it was just exciting interacting with people, but the excitement was interacting with the Caribbean people.
Wow.
Because let me tell you, one of the things that was happening at the time, up to a few years before that, medicine in Canada was predominated by the Jews. I have nothing against Jews, but just understand what I'm saying. So most doctors were Caucasian, and of that Caucasian population, most of them had Jewish names. So the average Jamaican up there, or Bayesian or Trinidadian, the doctors they saw were Caucasian
Hmm.
doctors or Jewish doctors. So even in the hospital where I worked, most black persons there, and trust me, there are a lot of Jamaicans in Toronto, they were either nurses or
Hmm.
physiotherapists or lab workers or janitors. So you saw a lot of black workers, but very few doctors. Interestingly enough, there was a Jamaican cardiologist, not in the hospital I was in, but in another one, and he heard about me and
Wow.
touched base with me. And as true base as Jamaicans are, who like to excel wherever they
Hmm.
go, the board on the board of that hospital was another Jamaican.
Wonderful.
I found that very
Yes, it
interesting.
is.
Black Jamaican too. I mean, I tell you, we're little, but we're really tolerant. Let me tell you
That's so
that.
true.
And so, And so it was interesting. I remember one time seeing a gentleman from Barbados, in the critical care unit, the cardiac critical care unit of one hospital. And he looked at me and said, "Boy, it's good to see someone from Yard." And that
Of
touched me.
course.
I can
Of
tell you, every
course.
time it really touched. He's not Jamaican, he's Bayesian. So Yard
Mhm.
is the Caribbean.
Exactly.
And for him to see a doctor in this setting from Yard meant a lot to him. And that meant a lot to me. So I started to look out for the Jamaican patients who came by my way, or the Caribbean patients who came by my way. And cause that again, you see, it was the connection was
Yes.
different.
Yes.
And I realized it just meant a lot to them. It brought joy to them, and that's a part of their healing. It inspired them. And I was just glad to be a part of that. And it was totally unexpected. I was not expected to be in a role doing something like that. But and that is again part of the inspiration as to why for me coming home was important. Because up there, if I finished my study and I stayed, I would have been cardiologist number 553.
Mhm.
But to come back home to Jamaica, it would have meant something more to the people,
Mhm.
right? It's not that a person in Canada seeing you and treating wouldn't appreciate what you did. I realized coming home and treating my own people, their appreciation meant a lot more
Wow.
to me. And it's the same to them. And so, again, it was part of my inspiration. So, as I said, the abundance was really my willingness. And as things opened up, that willingness expressed itself in different ways. It just expressed itself in different things I was able to do. And mind you, I can tell you, going up, I mean, going up into this society, Canadian society, I was aware one, I was Black. Two, I was a graduate of the University of the West
Mhm.
Indies. And three, I was Jamaican. So I realized I was representing three different areas, though they overlap.
Mhm.
So I had to be careful as to how I represented myself, as to how I presented myself, how I spoke. I was mindful of all of that because, as I said, it was a new program.
Mhm.
What I did would affect whether they will accept others or not. So I was also very much aware of that.
Because you were the
And
pioneer.
I, as a pioneer, and so I went there realizing and being conscious of that. I can tell you at the end of the first year of study, the head of department said to me one day, "You know, Victor, what I like about you, you are respectful. You had complaints, you had problems, but when you came with it respectfully. You didn't come and argue. You didn't come and make up noise. The way how you approach it made a difference." And to hear somebody, interestingly, again, he was like the epitome of what medicine a physician
Mhm.
was, head of department, white, Jewish. For him to say that to me, I felt like I have accomplished something, not just for
Mhm.
myself, but for those who are going to come after
Wonderful.
me.
Trailblazer.
And without trying to be one, but just being aware of who you are and your position. And, and I tell Jamaicans, we are great people.
Yes, we
And I remember one person came to me and said, "Boy, you Jamaicans, you're so proud." And I look on them and say, "Yes, we are, because we have reasons to be. We have been through a lot. And so we have reasons to stand up and to be proud of who we are."
are powerful.
And that was very
Yes,
interesting for
yes.
them.
Incidentally, Jamaica celebrated independence on August 6th. So I am still wearing a little, what is this? Green, black, and gold just to, so congratulations again, Jamaica. Of course, I'm a Jamaican. So I'm still celebrating independence.
Sorry, I had to plug in my
On
computer. It was running out of
No,
juice.
make sure you're connected to the
Uh,
source.
so I say all of that not in praise of myself, but you can see how just the 2 years of teaching has helped me in terms of perspective,
Mm-hmm.
and dealing with those boys and understanding has taught me a lot. By the time I reached to medical school, how to learn medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And as I grew up, I also had learned how to represent who you are, and as Jamaicans, I think we always have to realize we are representing our
Yeah.
people and a history of our color.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we would love to be in a world in which nobody sees color, but unfortunately, the world today is not there
That's
yet.
true.
So whatever you do is going to represent not just Jamaican, but you represent people of color.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I ended my time in Canada having the respect, because there are persons who are still got now understand that was 20 years
20
ago.
years ago.
And there are persons, yes, there are persons who are still, the program still exists. And there are persons who go up and they say, boy, Elliott, them still talking about you. The people them still remember
Wow.
you. And so for me, that I was like, yeah, that's cool. I didn't go, I just be myself,
Yep.
but I just loved what I do. And let me tell you, today I love what I do. I love cardiology. I love serving people. I love learning, and I love applying this to help people. As I told some students just this week, one of my mantra is that I am strong to help those who are not. Because one day I'm not going to be strong. I'm getting old. I'm going to be weak, and hopefully there'll be a strong person there to help
Mm-hmm.
me. But today, I am strong to help those who are not.
Powerful, powerful. I know there is a lot to learn from you, and I know this 1 hour will not encapsulate everything about who Dr. Elliott is. So, in a nutshell, for the 8 minutes that we have for this session, because you'll be coming back, you are the managing director of Partners in Interventional
Interventional
Center
Center.
of Jamaica. Just share a little bit about what that is and just summarize your abundance in service that took you to this position where you are now.
Okay, so as I told you, abundance in medicine in Jamaica, it has to do with a lack of service and a lack of equipment. And when it comes to practicing cardiology, there's a whole lot that can be done, and a whole lot more that needed to be done in Jamaica. And in realizing this, I said that um, I needed a facility where I could try and practice cardiology the way it needed to be practiced, or how I wanted to practice it. So I got together with a group of people, and again, the whole story is long, but the long and short of it is that we ended up opening a cardiac facility in which somebody can step in, and if they need a full cardiac assessment, it can be done right here in one
One.
place. They don't have to go all over just one place. And trust me, I've had many cases like that. I've had walk-in heart attacks occurring,
Wow.
and they get everything they need right here: assessment, treatment, their angiogram, stenting, admission, everything. And for me, that is fulfilling to be able to provide that kind of service. It is a lot of work. It's still a lot of growing, and we haven't achieved where we want to be yet. But for me, it is bringing a service that here people will say, oh, this is new, but it's been practiced in other
Right.
countries for 10, 20 years or more. But to bring it to my people means a lot to me. And that again is part of my excitement because it's just a service to
Yes.
people. And especially when you see the benefits. I will not lie, in a thing like what I do, as I said, I'm what we call interventional
Mm.
cardiologist. I lose patients. I see patients die. I've gone home and cried. I've been angry at all of things like this. So it's not all brilliant. You don't cure everybody. Not everybody comes out the way you want. But when you do see the difference, and that is the majority in which you see, because if majority of them were dying, I would be a failure.
Right.
But every time I lose a patient, I sit down and I have to ask, what could have been done different? What didn't we have? What is it we needed that could have made a difference in that patient? And so you try to get it applied. So we have got an equipment here that it's not available in some other places, or some places now have it, but we were the first to have
Mhm.
it, because I'm always looking to see help that next patient, so that
Wow.
that father can live to see his child graduate, that mother can live to see her child get married, that son can see live to see his father reach 70, 80. Because to me, dying before you reach your 70s, to me, is dying young.
Yeah.
In today's world, it is considered dying young.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what
Wow.
Partners is about. It we're trying to just have that center where we can practice cardiology and provide and make a difference. And it's great to be seeing that. And the name Partners, we were open to partnership to work with other people. And we have formed our different links, but it's really that. And it's my vision is to for us to do a whole lot more.
This is very heartwarming. Abundance in service from the beginning, a child to transitioning to teaching, then to this point where you could have stayed where you got the learning, but your purpose was to go back and serve your community, serve your people, so they can see that, yes, here goes someone who has have the ability to do other things, but yet they decide to serve. Dr. Elliott, it is what that tells me, that when you work with your passion and you serve in abundance, you find joy in what you do. When you spoke about some of the moments that were not so happy because you're losing a patient. And the way that you brought it across is like you take it as your family when you lose someone. And that is taking to heart what you do and how you appreciate others' life. It is very, very powerful. Now in few words, what would you say to someone who would want to pursue their purpose, but are a little hesitant in whatever they want to pursue? What would you say to
Um, what I would say is you have to know who you are and what is it you love. If you pursue what you love, I mean, it's cliche, but there's truth to it. If you pursue what you love, you never work a day in your life. No, I love what I do, and I do work. So I'm not blinded. But to be able to wake up every morning and to enjoy what you're going to do, to know what you're going to do, is what you want in your life. I know people wake up every morning and they hate getting up in the morning, not because they hate their lives, they hate the work that they do. So I would say be clear on what your passion is. And the truth is we're not always clear. Pursue it. Get some clarity in it. As you
Mhm.
saw for me, step by step, it became more clear. Things just fit into place. And I really have to be thankful to the Lord for that.
Amen.
Um, and just continue to pursue it. Be adventurous, open your mind, don't be limited. As one of the things, again, being in Canada taught me is that, yes, on this rock, sometimes we think too small. When you get into a wider society and you see how people can think big, you have to learn and teach yourself to think big. Do not be limited by what other people say you can or cannot do. But at the same time, know what it is you can do. So you want to pursue an area that may not even be popular. A lot of people ask why, but this is how society has progressed over the years. If you look on history, a lot of the people who made the difference were the ones who went against the grain. They pursued their passion, and because they loved it, they made a difference to themselves and eventually to others, and history was changed. So go after it, but learn. There's so much available to us now for us to be able to research, to learn, to understand exactly the areas of your passion, but pursue it. Take the time to learn, take the time to go step by step. And don't be afraid to fail. Do not be afraid to fall down. And also do not be afraid to change your mind if you
Powerful,
find that your heart really changes.
powerful. This is powerful information. Pursue your passion. Find out what it is and go after it. And once you're moving towards your passion or you're working towards your passion, you will not feel as if you're really working for a living. Dr. Elliott, thank you so much for sharing with us, sharing your authenticity, sharing and helping us or reminding us who we are and how we can pursue what God has given to us and be the person that we were created to be. Once again, thank you. Viewers, thank you for your time. And I hope you learned something from this. I hope families will take this and help their children or help other people in their family because together we achieve more. Once again, thank you, Dr. Elliott.
You're
And
most welcome.
and
Thanks for having me.
it's an honor. It's an honor. Viewers, thank you. Until next week, this is another episode of Mindset Monday. Powerful, powerful. I thank you so much. And